Greetings, Zimbabwe, Africa, and the world. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Titan Law. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today, I'm in conversation with Dr. Douglas Mamvura, a marketing guru and turnaround strategist. Enjoy this inspirational conversation. Dr. Douglas Mamvura, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, and thank you for creating the time to join us.
Many thanks, Trevor. Really, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for having me. When I look at the caliber of people that I've had on this platform before, one feels like a nurse at a doctor's convention, but God's grace is sufficient.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've had a colorful career, Doug, and as I was looking at your bio, I discovered one thing. Have you ever applied for a job?
No, Trevor. For your own information, I've never applied for a job. I always joke about this, even when I run my seminars. I always tell people that I've never applied for a job. It has always been good to be interviewing the interviewers. Yeah.
You've been headhunted in most jobs that you've had.
That's right.
How is that experience like?
It's a great experience, Trevor. And again, it's not like there's something so special about me. But I think one thing that I've really learned is that when you work like you're working unto God. Your desire is to really lift your standards so high, to the extent that your work should be your testimony. And when your work becomes your testimony, all these guys have no choice but just to invite you to come and work with them. So it has really been just a good feeling. It's a great feeling.
I like that. Do everything as if unto God.
That's right.
So you really don't mind. You don't care whether your boss is watching you, because your boss is the one that's upstairs.
Amen, amen. This is actually what really drives me. And my success does not come from my boss. My success comes from God. So my boss has no choice. Once God has opened the door, he has no choice. He can't close it. Yeah.
You've transitioned from the corporate world into being an entrepreneur, and that's a big move in itself. But before we get into that, you are now the founder of a tech company called Disruptive Technologies Africa, and you call yourself the Chief Digital Evangelist. Talk to us in the first instance about the thinking behind the company, what the company does, and why you call yourself the Chief Digital Evangelist.
Wow. Trevor, the main reason behind the establishment of Disruptive Technologies was as a result of me having identified a gap in the market. I mean, from my marketing background, I realized that most of the businesses, in order for them to survive, they now have to change their business model. And one of the key engines that they really require is technology. Because when you place your business on a digital platform, there are three main advantages. Number one, you reach a wider audience. Number two, you are actually able to offer convenience to your clients. And the last one, you are also able to offer your products and services at very, very competitive rates. So I decided to get into the technology space specifically for that. So when you look at disruptive technologies, just like as the name suggests, Trevor, I always want to challenge the status quo. I think this is why I found myself being a marketer, because I just hate, sameness. I always want to challenge the status quo. So basically with disruptive technologies, what we've been doing is we have been focusing on things like e-learning platforms, and I'm glad to say we have had a very exciting startup with one of the schools, one of the mission schools, and the Ministry of Education has actually certified our system. So we are into e-learning platforms, we are into hospital management platforms, we are into pharmaceutical management platforms, we are into farm management platforms, Trevor. We are also offering core banking systems for cooperatives. Basically, Trevor, my focus is really on transforming the lives of our people, especially the so-called marginalized. We want to make sure that they have access to technology so that they're able to really compete with some of these guys who are so established in the market.
And but you're not a technologist yourself. So how have you been able to do this? Have you been reading around a lot around technology and its impact on business and communities?
Trevor, that's the beauty of being a marketer. You know, if I tell you I've sold soft drinks, I've sold cars, I've sold money, I've sold technology. Yes, that's true. I am not a technology person myself. But the beauty about it is that I've managed to really read a lot, I research a lot around this area of technology. It's so fascinating, Trevor. You know, I didn't realize what I was missing because initially I used to be really technology shy. But right now, I love technology. I mean, I dream, I eat technology. I just love it. It makes your life so simple. Yeah.
At your age, like you and I, we're
Yes.
not digital natives.
No.
Naturally, you have to make an effort to
Exactly.
get there. And you found that stretch interesting?
Very, very exciting because I think one of the things that I've done, Trevor, you'll find that the team that I work with, I am the one who tips the average scale of in terms of age for my team. I'm working with guys who are in their 20s. I'm not going to employ guys who are in their 40s and whatnot. They really don't qualify.
So I won't get a job.
No, unfortunately, Trevor. You will become maybe a director. Yeah, that's fine. Just trying to give us direction at that stage. But as an executive team, no, I'm working with youngsters.
The future is young. The future is technology.
Certainly. And so this is why my focus is really on the young people. And again, the idea is to transform the lives of these youngsters, just to make sure that they leave a mark. Trevor, there is no individual who has got the right to come into this world, pass through it, without leaving any traces or evidence of having been here. One has to leave a mark. And I really want to try and help as many people as possible to leave a mark. Yeah.
Interesting. So the transition from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur,
Right.
working for yourself.
Yes.
How has that journey been? Did you get a wobble or it was smooth sailing? What were the pain points? What were the pleasure points?
Trevor, I wish it was a plain sailing journey. I think this is why some people then eventually don't want to be involved.
Right.
You know, because they're so used to be, you know, given a company car, company this, company house, company whatever. But my journey was quite bumpy, and I learned actually the hard way. And I think one of the lessons that I learned was that when you're in the corporate world and when you then start your own thing, it's totally different, Trevor. When I was like in banking, your word was your bond. Okay, Coca-Cola, it was all about integrity, professionalism. Now, when I started to get into into this new world of mine, I carried that in my mind. So some of the guys that I worked with, you know, I really trusted them so much, you know, because your word is your bond. And I remember some guys when we were doing a project for my hair, I trusted these guys, and I was in my mind, these guys are professionals and whatnot. And little did I know that, you know what, like the Bible says in Luke, I think it's Luke 16:8, that the children of this world are wiser than the children of the light. You know, you really have to open your eyes and be alert, because you don't take things for granted. So that's one thing that I really learned in terms of just trusting people. I didn't even, I was so naive, even my paperwork in terms of shareholding and whatnot. It's said that the guys that I'm talking about right now, they are state guests at Chikurubi. But, you know, it's one of those things, you know. But those are some of the lessons that you learned. So I was very naive, too trusting. So, yeah, I learned the hard way. But but as the journey started, it became quite exciting. Having learned from that,
You paid your school fees.
I paid my school fees, Trevor. Right now,
Painful way.
Very painful way. I lost a lot of money, Trevor. A lot of money.
Because you trusted too much.
Because I trusted too much, and I didn't do my paperwork properly with the guys.
Your due diligence, as it were.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
And then the real world
Yeah.
bites and it
Oh,
tells
yeah.
you that
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't have to trust
This
everybody.
is it. The only trusted human being is a dead one.
So you're now in a comfortable space.
Extremely comfortable, just by the grace of God. Right now, I'm so excited. But I think I need to share with you, even as I went into this journey. Do you know this idea of entrepreneurship started in 1997? I remember with Shingemunyeze and myself, we wanted to come up with a cane manufacturing plant. I mean, during that time, we were still very young, in our 20s, and we even went to Atlanta, to Denver, Colorado, to go and identify a cane manufacturing plant. You don't know, at that age, even when people saw us, you know, even in terms of our height, these guys, they thought, you know, as this the business people from Zimbabwe. But cutting a long story short, had it not been for the, I think the fall of the Zim dollar on that Friday, the 17th of November.
Yes.
Yeah, we could have been having our
Black
own.
Friday.
Yes, that Black Friday. We would have been having our, you know, cane manufacturing plant for beverages like soft drinks and, you know, beer, whatever. So we were very, very keen on that. But I guess, you know, the timing was not perfect at that particular point in time. Yeah.
And you also went into business with Nigel Chanakira.
Yes, yes.
And Strive Masiwa,
Yes.
eTransact. So
Yes.
the entrepreneur has always been in you.
That's right. It has always been there. Trevor, I always believe that if you want to create wealth, you can't work for someone else. You have to work for yourself. However, it's a journey. It's not something that you can just, you know, achieve within a space of time. It's a journey, but the ultimate goal is to become your own boss, so to speak. You know, it's like in life I've realized that, you know, there are times, stage one, you have a situation where you work for your money, okay? Stage two, you want your money to work for you when you are not there. But what you then want to do is to go to stage three, where the money, you know, works for you. You are not even there, but, you know, it's just so, it's like a triple X kind of.
Is that where you are now?
Well, I am heading towards that. I've left, but I haven't arrived. I haven't arrived, but I've left.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let me take you to Mfakose.
Yes.
You are in Mfakose boy.
Oh, yes. Oh,
You
yes.
grew up in Mfakose.
Right.
Your mom was a maid.
Yes.
Your father was a taxi driver.
That's right.
What was it like growing up in Mfakose with mom as a maid and dad as a taxi driver? Those are humble beginnings.
Extremely humble beginnings. You know, this is where then you see the grace and the power of God in one's life. You know, Mufakos, as the name suggests, Mufakos is dead in every aspect. Actually, it was in a two-roomed house. But my parents were very committed, you know, to ensuring that I would get, you know, as much education as I needed.
How many were you?
We were just three.
Three, okay.
Yes, we were three. It wasn't easy, I mean, for my parents, but they worked so hard. This is why I believe that, you know, you see the power of a seed, you know, in one's life. You know, you can count the number of seeds in one apple, but you can't count the number of apples in one seed.
Amen.
You know, so as I started, you know, I was very committed to ensuring that my life would not remain a ghetto life. Although I'm grateful, because I realize, you know, what some people have to go through, and you don't take things for granted. So it was a very interesting journey, but I liked it. It toughened my character.
It hardened you, it toughened you. What is it that your parents deposited in you that has stayed with you till today?
The main thing is hard work, commitment, passion. Never lose sight of what you want to achieve in life, regardless of the challenges that you face. You know, you can always get there. As long as you are committed, as long as you remain resolute. Those are some of the lessons that I learned from it.
And your Christian faith?
Oh, yes. My Christian faith, you know, this is what has really taken me to where I am.
Did that come from the family, from mom and dad?
Yes. It came from both my especially my mother. Yeah. She was so interested in ensuring that she instilled, you know, Christian values in us. You know, during those days, you spend more time with your mother than with your father. You know, so it was an interesting journey. Yeah, I learned a lot. I think that's where now even my Christian background actually started. Yeah.
The other thing that fascinates me about your life are the things that you wanted to become,
Right.
but never became.
Right.
You wanted to be a medical doctor when you went to the University of Zimbabwe, but you didn't get the points to become a medical doctor. I'm just imagining now what kind of a doctor you might have been, but I'm not going to share it. So you didn't become a medical doctor. You became, the marketing person that
Right.
you are right now.
Yes.
Talk to me about that disappointment of wanting to be a doctor and not becoming a doctor.
Actually, Trevor, it wasn't like I didn't get the points. What happened was that after O-level, I'd done my O-level at a boarding school. So during our time, remember what time we used to apply for three schools and whatever. One of them had to be a day school. So unfortunately, and I will say unfortunately for me, as somebody who was used to going to a boarding school, I was given a place at a day school, Harare High School. So I said, no, I don't want to be a day school. And during our time, it was very easy. You could go even for what we used to call them motor mechanics or whatever, some of those
apprenticeships.
Apprenticeships, yes. Thank you, Trevor. So I was contemplating whether I should really proceed, go to a day school, or should I just go, for an apprenticeship. So fortunately, a friend of mine is now in New Zealand. Then persuaded me that, no, let's just go, because we were together at St. Paul's. So I then went to Harare High School. By the time I went there, all the science subjects had been taken up.
Oh, right.
So I found myself, my combination was so embarrassing. English, history, and Shona. You can imagine. And I wanted to become a medical doctor. But little did I know that God actually had a great plan for me. So after that, I did very well at A-level, and then I found myself doing business studies. And then from business studies, as they say, that's where I then developed a passion for marketing, and then, as they say, the rest is history.
And you at St. Paul's Mission,
Right.
And Harare High School, you played football.
Oh, yes.
And you actually played football. You wanted to play for Dynamos at
Yes.
some point.
Definitely.
Because you were so good.
Yes, I actually wanted to play for Dynamos because St. Paul's was very well known for soccer during those days, Trevor. So we used to really play, a lot of soccer, and during that time, Japhet Mparotsa was my idol. He used to be the goalkeeper for Dynamos. And I really wanted to, he was just short as I am. So hence he got that nickname, short goalkeeper. Oh yes, I was a goalkeeper. Even at St. Paul's, I was a goalkeeper. Right. So I really used to enjoy soccer. And then, obviously, when I then went for A-level, my interest really died in terms of really pursuing that career in football. But I always wanted to become, a footballer.
But I know you're an Arsenal fan like me.
A fanatical one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You had a short stint at TA.
Yes.
Talk to me about that short stint at TA.
Trevor,
it was your first job.
Yes, that was my first job.
Yeah.
Actually, on that job, we just wrote a psychometric test at the university. And then that's how I just found myself, working at TA. That was the time when I was on a management training program for 6 months. And then after that, they then gave me a very interesting title, Group Relief Branch Manager. It was a long title. I realized that I was just a commander without an army. Big office, big extension, you had an extension there, direct line there. My job was just to relieve branch managers who would have gone on leave. So I really didn't find it very exciting, and I realized that I was going to go rusty if I had stayed there. But, during that time, our boss then was the late Mr. Chambati.
Ariston Chambati.
Yes. The idea was to really groom young black guys to become managers. But there was a lot of resistance from the white community then. They didn't want to. So you'll just be given a big title, but...
you get pugged.
Yes, you get pugged.
You got tired of being pugged.
Yes.
You left and went to Coca-Cola.
Yes.
And according to you, Coca-Cola was a very defining space for you. Talk to me about the opportunities that Coca-Cola presented for you.
Coke, Trevor, I wish I could find, enough adjectives to describe my stint at Coca-Cola. It's one of the best, if not the best organization I've ever seen in terms of marketing. I learnt a lot, the idea of professionalism there. I was working as a regional brands and research manager, operating within the whole of SADC region, covering 9 countries. I really developed a passion in marketing. And the issue of branding became very, very good. I mean, it was just amazing, Trevor. That's where I developed my marketing muscles, so to speak, at Coca-Cola.
That's where you were trained to be a marketer.
That's right, that's right. Most of the things that I do right now, the origins are from Coca-Cola.
So why was the why do you think the training was so impactful on you? Are you able to share in terms of what it was like?
Well, yes. Number one, the guys, they believed in their values. Like, commitment was one of the values at Coca-Cola. And, you know, it's like our boss used to say, you know, it's like when you talk of commitment, it's like somebody who has had bacon and egg. For you to enjoy an egg, a hen has just been involved. But to enjoy bacon, the pig has been committed. We don't want people who are involved here. We want people who are committed. So it was all about passion. That's why I keep talking about Coke, you know, so many years later. It was all about commitment. So I learned the issue of those brand values, that you become the product of the product. You are not scared of competition. That's why I love competition. You're not scared of competition. You can take competition head on. I learned the importance of strategy in business, because you don't just, you know, get into a battlefield without a clear battle plan. So, and also you have to choose the battlefield on which to fight your competitor. And it was so good. It was just amazing.
Do you find, looking around the terrain, that there's still lots of that kind of passion and commitment for brand building?
Well, I wish I could say so, Trevor. Yes, to a certain extent, there are still some organizations that are so passionate about building their brands. But right now, you find that some, they just take customers for granted. They are not really focused on brand building, because your brand, that's the DNA of your organization. You know, your brand is like the blood within your veins. You can't do without it. And it is very important for one to build a strong, solid brand that can just attract anyone out there. And those are some of the lessons that I learned when I was at Coca-Cola, the importance of a brand. You know, and a Coca-Cola person used to dress in a certain way. If you dress like you are going fishing, you will be asked to go back home. Color combination and all those things.
Wow.
It was very, very important. You know.
And you say you never drank Pepsi Cola when
No,
you had Coca-Cola.
no,
Well, was that demanded of you, or this was brand loyalty from you?
It was brand loyalty and just commitment. Anything else was, I couldn't even mention some of the names of my competitors. They would blister my tongue, Trevor. So it was about being just, you know, committed to your brand. We're not even, you know, but as an organization, whenever, I remember we had the president of Coca-Cola visiting us here in Zimbabwe. We would hide our teacups, because tea was considered competition, milk was considered competition to beverages, yeah? So whenever somebody asked you for a drink, you didn't have to think.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. So that was it. So I felt liberated then after I had left, you know. So now I can drink water, I can do some.
Fascinating,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Fascinating.
That's right.
And then you got headhunted by Standard Chartered Bank.
Yes.
To set up perhaps the first marketing department in a bank.
Yes, yes.
How was that experience like, Doug?
Trevor, that was a very exciting experience. When I joined Standard Chartered Bank, you know, I was still very, very young. You know, not to say I'm too old, Trevor.
How old were you? How old were you, Doug?
I think then I was around 26, 27.
Okay. And what was your position there?
I was the head of marketing. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Now, in banking, for you to get to that level, and we used to use, was it the Patterson method? I can't remember. I was in band 5, which was just one level below a director. For you in banking during those days to get to that level, it wasn't very easy.
Why?
Well, because bankers were very, very traditional, so very conservative. So you would start as a teller you go up the ladder. By the time you get to band 5, you'll be so old. Maybe if I had really followed that route, by now, then maybe I would have been now starting to dream of becoming a...
Did you not find this conservatism a hurdle for you as a marketer at Standard Chartered Bank?
It was, Trevor. Do you know, I remember having been the first head of marketing in the financial services sector. The hurdle there was that I tried to come up with new ideas because a marketer is a pioneer who sees the future before it comes. So I remember trying to introduce a competition where we would give away cars. Trevor, the CEO then said to me, Doug, this is not Coca-Cola where you used to give away cars. This is a bank, you know. So you can imagine, and this is also a lesson even from our young people, that, you know, you have to really stay resolute. Do you know, 6 months later, we were almost 40% down on our budget. I went back to my immediate supervisor, who was so good, Livingstone Gwata. So I said to Livingstone, you guys hired me to make marketing decisions. If you didn't need me, you wouldn't have hired me. Please give me an opportunity to launch this promotion. So Livingstone could see a lot of sense in what I was saying. So he said, go and convince Alex Jonge, who was then the finance director. So you can see some of the steps that one has to take.
Yeah.
So I took Alex for lunch using my own money. You know, he was a director. I said, Mkoma, let's go for lunch. So I explained to him cost-benefit analysis, because during my time at TA, because I didn't have much to do, I took that time to do my CIA. So I really, you know, had, you know, very good feeling in terms of figures. So I took Alex, I gave him my cost-benefit analysis, something that most marketers are afraid of doing. Alex was really convinced. So he said, young man, if you believe you can do this, we'll give you the go-ahead. So cutting a long story short, they then allowed me to launch the promotion. Do you know, from a minus 40%, our deposits grew by 160% in 6 months.
Because of that marketing
Because
initiative.
of that marketing initiative. So it wasn't very easy, Trevor.
And what's the lesson there, Doug?
The lesson, Trevor, is that whenever you believe in something, it doesn't matter what obstacles you can face. A lot of people can throw a lot of stones at you. And for me, what I learned was that, you know, a wise person is someone who's able to build a strong and firm foundation with stones and bricks that are being thrown at him or her. The bigger the stones, the firmer the foundation. That was a lesson for me. And even when I then tried to bring ATMs and things like that, initially there was a lot of resistance. But I believed in what I knew could be done for that organization. And as a result of that, God's grace was just phenomenal for me. The results were there for everyone to see. And that's how my marketing journey started to really blossom.
And this is a time, perhaps, that you had one of those interesting encounters with technology, because
yes,
you were instrumental in introducing ATMs,
that's right,
credit cards,
yes,
debit cards.
That's right.
And you did, like you said,
that's right,
you know, promotions. And the conservative bankers, traditional bankers, would be, you know, take time.
Yeah, do you think, you know, an ATM, what confidence do you have that people here will be able to access the ATM? What about the people in the rural areas? No, they would bombard you with so many questions and whatnot, but you really have to be very firm in what you believe. Yeah.
And then you got headhunted again,
yes,
by Gideon Gono.
That's right.
And joined CBZ.
That's right.
Talk to me about that experience.
Another very exciting experience, Trevor. When I joined CBZ, they'd just been born out of BCCI. Some people used to call them Bank of Crooks and Criminals International. Others used to call them Bank of Chaos and Confusion International. And I remember some of my friends saying to me, Doug, how can you leave such a great bank, Standard Bank, and joining, you know, CBZ? I said that is exactly why I want to go there, because, you know what, I always want to work with underdogs. So I had an incredible time at CBZ. During that time, even our staff members didn't want to be seen in their uniform, because they were just shy to be associated with CBZ.
The exact opposite of Coca-Cola.
Exactly.
Where you are proud,
this is
walking with your head high.
This is it.
And you go to CBZ,
that's
where
right,
everybody is embarrassed to work for CBZ.
That's right.
But it's your responsibility to transform that image. Talk to me about that.
This is it, yes. So the first thing that I did after Dr. Gone had introduced me to the team, I said there will only be 2 banks in this country. CBZ and others. The guys, they looked at me, they thought I just wanted to please the boss. But I really meant it, Trevor. Do you know, and the good thing with the relationship that I had with Dr. Gono then, I agreed with him before I joined. I said, I'm coming here on the understanding that you allow me to do what I feel is best for this organization, because I was looking at my experience at Standard Chartered Bank. And if I make a mistake, you're also free to fire me. So that's how confident I was. And he actually honored his side of the deal. And I was so empowered at CBZ. And within 3 years, we moved from 3% to 20% market share. You know, that's where this title of marketing guru and whatnot came from, because it was an incredible transformation. We just started working with the team. The issue of leadership, brand building, making sure that the team believes in the brand, because some of them used to feel that, you know what, look at the other banks, they're like this, they're like that. I said, there's no one who can make you feel inferior without your consent. We can build a brand that is stronger than the other brands that you see around, because those organizations are being run by men and women, born of a woman like you and I. So let's go for it. And we went for it, Trevor. It was just amazing. People were shocked with the transformation that then took place during that time.
What do you think explains the success of that transformation? What were the ingredients?
Number one, it was teamwork. And number two, I think also the issue of the leadership style. For me, there are three key lessons that I learned, the three forms of leadership that I saw. A leader as a shepherd. Your responsibility is to look after the flock, feed the flock, fight for the flock. If your branch doesn't have certain equipment and whatnot, it was my responsibility to go and fight with my ExCo colleagues and say, guys, I need support, the finance director, I need support, I need this. So you need to be a good shepherd. You defend your flock. Nobody would dare attack my team without any good reason for doing that. So that was number one. The second thing, the lesson there was a leader is a servant. You are there to serve your team, you know. That's your responsibility. You don't say somebody, just they're applying for a housing loan and they say, yeah, just put it in my in-tray and you know what, I'll get back to you later, whatever. It was my responsibility to ensure that my team would get what they wanted. So I was there to serve them. And finally, a leader is a steward. You know, you have to, it's your responsibility to identify talent. And one of the guys that I identified there was a guy, he's well known, Milton Kamwendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was working as an assistant accountant, can you imagine, in a branch. And I said, Milton, come and be one of my team members. So he said to me, Doug, I only studied statistics at the university. I can't speak in front of people. So I said, Milton, come. Every Friday, would knock off at 4, so I would take him through the paces. And I remember at one stage we went to India. That meeting was supposed to be for directors, but I negotiated with my boss, Gideon Gono, for him to allow me to go with Milton. We spent three weeks there. And Milton, I mean, right now, look at what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, the sky is big enough for every bird to fly. And that's another lesson for the leaders. Don't compete with your subordinates, you know. Don't compete with your subordinate. The sky is big enough for every bird to fly.
And your marketing expertise was recognized by Success Motivation International when you awarded the World Client of the Year.
That's right. That's right, Trevor. Again, it was during that time. I was competing with executives from more than 70 different countries worldwide. So I went to Florida and I met the late Paul Jeremiah. When I became the World Client of the Year here in Zimbabwe. Yeah. So I think it's only Nigel Chanakira, George Nyabadza and myself that I can remember. We've won that award.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
And how long were you at CBZ?
I was at CBZ for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And then you got headhunted
again, yes,
by Trust Bank.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You established actually with William Nyemba.
That's right.
An interesting corporate culture. Talk to me about the Trust Bank corporate culture.
Trevor, when it comes to great corporate culture, great teamwork, chemistry between leaders and the led, I can't think of any other organization than Trust.
Wow.
Do you know most businesses are overmanaged, but they are underled? One of the key things that I learned when I was at Trust was the issue of leadership, inspirational leadership. I can tell you up until now, I am yet to see a brand that was as dynamic, innovative, as the Trust brand. Do you know, it was just amazing. And this whole issue of chemistry. William had his own way of leading. He was just an incredible guy. Do you know, even in terms of lessons, we'd have some meetings where we would mix with our, say, senior managers. We'd have even one of the senior managers actually chairing the meeting whilst William was there. And that was the kind of a culture we had. Even amongst ourselves as the members of EXCO, as directors, we would really thrash each other. I think this is one thing that is missing in most organizations, where people, they skate around issues, they are very diplomatic, but when it came to just being vicious, we were so vicious amongst ourselves as an EXCO team. In the room. And then we used to have our EXCO meetings on Wednesdays, and we'd say, guys, well, today it's Wednesday, in the afternoon we'll then go and play golf together as a team. So it wasn't personal. So that was one of the things that I learned at Trust, where you don't tell each other what you want to hear, just speak your mind. Yeah.
And I mean, we saw Trust grow.
Yes.
The colors were green and white.
Yes,
am I right?
yes.
I can still remember.
I can still remember
the
that, yeah.
colors. But Trust collapsed.
Yes, it did.
Are you at liberty to share with us what went wrong?
Well, I think maybe it's an opportunity, Trevor, to really demystify. There are a lot of theories about why Trust collapsed. People were talking about the fact that they were now selling cars, they were selling bricks, they were selling fridges. I think I need to really unpack that. I think before I get into that, let me also really apologize. It's very sad that we had a lot of people who lost their money during that time, which is very unfortunate, and that's something that is regrettable. But, it's what I learned during that time, Trevor, was that it started just as we had a fraud. Our balance sheet during that time, Trevor, was in trillions of dollars, proper, right? When our currency was still very strong during those days. When other banks were still talking about hundreds of billions, whatever, we were already in trillions. We were doing extremely well. And if we had continued on that, I'm sure each and every one of us would have been, having their own private jet, so to speak. Anyway, as marketers, we exaggerate things. But anyway, what really happened during that time was that when we had that fraud, our competitors and other people, they took advantage of our demise. It's a marketing lesson as well, that when your neighbor's beard is on fire, make sure that yours is soakingly wet. So during that time, people started texting each other that, if you've got money at Trust, that bank is collapsing, that bank is collapsing. So we had a run on our deposits. And that is exactly what led to the demise of Trust. It wasn't like people did anything and whatnot. And the issue, let me just explain about the issue of selling cars. This is something that is also missing when I look at our industry during these days. The issue of being innovative, creating solutions in an environment like this. Instead of casing darkness, light the candle. Willowville then didn't have enough resources, to buy cars, to import cars from Japan. So what did we do? We approached these guys and we said, guys, we'll give you money to order kits, but those kits will have to be in our bank's name. Because our concern was that if they were in the Willowville's name, people would then, or the other banks would then take their money from those cars. So we would then say, when you assemble those cars, the moment you sell them to Amtech and all these other dealers, you then give us our money. So those were tolling structures, Trevor. We were not selling cars. Those were tolling structures, and we were actually resuscitating the industry. The same applies to the bricks. Then they had their own challenges. And again, we said these bricks, as you mold them, they have to be under our name. And when at the point at which you sell, you give us our money. And then, so that's how we managed to sustain those businesses. But people took advantage and started spread, bad news, bad reports. That was very unfortunate. I mean, people are so jealous. And I think for us Zimbabweans, that's one thing which is very unfortunate, Trevor, that when I see you not doing so well, I would rather I rejoice. I call all my friends and say, you see, Trevor,
PhD.
Yeah, yes, pull him down. It's a scarcity mentality. It's very unfortunate, Trevor, that some of us Zimbabweans, that's the way we believe. We actually tend to rejoice when somebody is not going through, good times. It's very sad.
And for you as a marketer,
Right.
that must have been painful
Because
because you've built this brand,
Yes.
and suddenly you're unable to protect
Yes.
the brand that
Yes.
you've built against the gossip and the market innuendo.
Trevor, I couldn't agree with you more. That, for me, was the eventual reason why I then decided that, you know what, I've just had enough about this corporate world. I better get into my own world, create my own business where I am in control, and I start doing my own things because I was deeply hurt, Trevor, because we had built an incredible brand. So that's why I then decided, hey, let me try something else.
Talk to me about the hat.
Well,
So you're deeply hurt.
Yeah, I was hurt because, number one, the jealous that was out there and the false reports that were there, Trevor. It's very, very sad when you knew the truth, people saying all sorts of things. But the reality was not that there was any abuse of resources. No, it was just this fraud that took place. Which, of course, as one of the directors or whatnot, I also take responsibility that we slept on the wheel because we're doing so well, and because we didn't even realize that we had a fraud because we're doing extremely well, and obviously we take responsibility over that. Yeah.
You are. I love your Sunday Christian writing. You
Thank
are
you.
a born again Christian.
Yes, I am.
And one of the things that you wanted to become, which you never became, is you wanted to be a priest.
It's true.
I suppose in a way you are a priest.
Yes.
Evangelizing
yes,
about
yes,
technology
that's right.
and marketing. Talk to me about that aspiration, that ambition to be a priest, which never materialized.
When I was at the university, Trevor, I was the president of the Catholic students. So I went to Brussels. I remember went to Brussels for an international movement of Catholic students conference. And my chaplain there, really Father Paul Edwards, liked me so much. And he persuaded me to become a priest. So he organized for me to go to the Vatican so that I could have an appreciation of priesthood. I was there, and when I saw this place where Paul was put in prison and whatnot in Rome, the Bible became so alive, and I said, yeah, definitely, I would like to become a priest. But obviously, it didn't work that way when I came back. But yeah, definitely I wanted to become a priest. Yeah.
Well, why did you want to become a priest?
I think, again, from my background, my religious background, although my parents were Methodists.
All right.
Okay. I moved to Catholicism when I went to St. Paul's Mission.
I see.
Yeah, and so I just used to enjoy seeing those priests, with their their robes and whatnot. I felt, to be called Baba Mamvura, and it was a good thing. Yeah.
And do you have a position on what we're experiencing at the moment? It's almost most prevalent within the continent, what, for lack of a better word, false prophets. You do this to your Hank, you do this, that, give a car to the pastor, this will happen. You stand on a snake and so forth. Do you have a view on the false prophets that we're seeing mushrooming all over, taking advantage of desperate people?
I do, Trevor, and I think this is one of the reasons why I dedicated, I think for the last 3 years I've been doing these writings. This is why I really had, and thanks to your organization for giving me the space there. I really have a view, because as a believer, when you see things like that happening and you keep quiet, that's not good. Because Paul himself, Apostle Paul, look at the way he was so hard on the Galatians, telling them, who has bewitched you. That's a very strong word. There's a lot of, we have lots of false prophets taking advantage of the gullible congregants. And again, I don't just blame these false prophets. I think I also blame the congregants. Number one, they want to make money too quickly. They think if you touch this thing, it will then just happen. The Bible says, you know, he who does not work, neither shall he eat. So we want to have everything happen overnight. And so these false prophets, they take advantage of people like that. And for me, it's very, very sad. But the idea is to know the Bible for yourself. And this is what led me to go to the Bible school, Trevor. People think that if you are going to the Bible school, it's only because you want to become a pastor or what. No, you want to know the word so that nobody will actually take advantage of you. Because people are, I mean, they are told if you don't study for your exam, but if you buy this ballpoint pen, you're going to pass. I mean, what kind of rubbish is that? And all that is because people are ignorant of the word. Like the Bible says in Hosea 4:6, that people perish because of lack of knowledge. So I really have a very strong view on that. And I would rather speak the truth in love. I am not saying that for me, I now know everything. No, it's a journey. But this issue of just trying to quick prosperity, whatnot overnight and whatnot, that is not biblical.
It's so interesting because you're saying there's two aspects to it. There's the desperate and gullible congregants.
Yes.
Who want instant success.
Yes. Oh yes.
And you have the false prophets who take advantage of that. It's the two of them tangling to create this sad thing that we're witnessing at the moment.
You're quite right, Trevor, because you know, you can't have a baby in 1 month by impregnating 9 women in a day. You know, it will take 9 months to have a baby. So people want to have these shortcuts, Trevor.
Quick success.
Yeah, quick success. That doesn't happen. I mean, the Bible, when you look at it, it's like the seed. It's first the blade, then the ear, then the full corn in the ear. So it's a process, you know. So there's seed time and there's harvest time. But people want to have quick money, and they are taking an advantage of. And when you see some of the things that are taking place right now, it's so sad. It's extremely sad.
And like you're saying, we don't take time to read the word.
This is it.
To understand the Bible ourselves.
That's right.
We wait for the pastor to stand in front of us on a Sunday to read the word to us.
Oh yes, Trevor. And the focus now, because some of our pastors, prophets or whatever, bishops, have become so charismatic, you know, the way they, they are so the focus now is really on the men of God instead of the God of men. So they make themselves God, because if you don't do this to me, God is not going to bless you. People don't realize that they now have direct access to God. You know, that's why that veil was broken into two. But people, because of ignorance, they think that if Papa or whatever doesn't pray for me and whatnot, I'm going to be in trouble. No. Trevor, personally, I've prayed for people on wheelchairs walking. I've prayed for... Anyone can do that. You don't have to have a special gift. No. As a born-again believer, all of us, the ground below the cross is level. God is a father of all and a stepfather of none. You know, he loves us the same. He has given us the same measure of faith. And those are some of the things that one has to really appreciate.
I don't need a papa to have a personal relationship with my God.
No, because the Papa now, I wish the Papa would just remain the Papa. Now the Papa now makes themselves the God, you know? Yeah, and manipulate you and, you know, do all sorts of things, and, you know, it's not good.
I wonder where you find time to do all these things. You're so humble. You've got a PhD. You've got a black belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And you also find time to write books.
Yes.
You are in the middle of writing your 3rd book.
That's right.
What were the first and the second book that you wrote?
The first one was Marketing as a Calling. That was the first book. And there I was looking at my experience in the banking industry, how I really tried to transform the face of banking in this country. So that's really the gist of the book. The second one is on strategy. It's called Insurgent Strategies, the Mind of a Predator. You know, insurgents is, you know, like, you know, what happens like in places like Syria where they are so unpredictable. They just hit you when you least expect it. When they hit you very hard. So it's all about strategy. That's the second one. The third one is really on my grace tidings. Really, it's a spiritual book. It's you know, that you know, I just want to share the good news, the news about the grace of God. So that one, yeah, I think I'll have almost like 3 volumes because I've written so much stuff over the last 3 years.
And where can people get the books that you've written? Where do we buy them?
The first one, right? I mean, it's at Innovate.
Okay.
That's where they are. And then the second one actually is being printed in South Africa.
Okay.
So I hope to get the copies. I think within the next 4 weeks or so, we should have the copies. And then the third one, obviously, it will come out early next year. Yeah.
Doug, have you ever failed?
Yes.
Anything?
Yes.
Well, you did talk about
Yes,
the
yes.
few
That's right.
scars that you had trying to get into business.
Right.
What failure has been more hurtful for you, most hurtful for you? And what lessons did you learn from that failure?
I think when I think about my baptism into entrepreneurship, the project that I had when I was trying to really get into, you know, this Maeu and whatnot, that for me was one of the, painful failures at Trevor, because I lost a lot of money. I trusted a lot of people. And do you know, I had given these guys for free 25% of the stake in that business for free. And these guys, they went behind my back. They forged their documents and they transferred my 75% and they gave themselves the 75%. They forged my signature that I had, I had resigned. That's why they are now state guests, like I was telling you earlier on. That for
They're
me,
in prison.
yes, they are.
For how many of them?
There are 2.
2 of them.
Yeah, 5 years. They were given 5 years. You know, so, I mean, imagine having helped somebody to giving them, you know, equity for free. 25. They didn't even
Big mistake,
Yeah.
Doug.
Yes.
You give somebody something for free, they never appreciate it.
This is it. So this is why, Trevor, I was telling you that I was very naive. And I take total responsibility over that. Very naive, you know.
Doug, do you think you found your purpose? And what was that purpose?
Yes, I found a purpose, Trevor.
What's that purpose?
My purpose is really to transform lives. So when you look at anything that I do, it has to do with the transformation of lives. I was telling you about technology and whatnot. All these people, the cooperatives, these are some of the guys that are, you know, marginalized and whatnot. It really blesses my heart to see lives being transformed. I told you even the story about Milton Kamwendo. Look at what he's doing. For me, it blesses my heart to see how God gave me an opportunity to really speak into that young man's life and look at what is going on. So for me, it's all about transformation of lives, changing lives, transforming our communities, making a difference. You know, that's my purpose. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you think you'll ever become a pastor, stand on the pulpit and preach? Because I think you've got the gifting somehow.
I do. I actually preach. I preach most Sundays. I actually preach. Yeah.
Where do you preach?
At Grace Chapter Church at College of Music.
I see.
Yes. So yeah, I do. I love. Actually, for me, my relationship with God, I couldn't have any other better relationship. I couldn't wish for anything better. When you look at all these mistakes that I've made, Trevor, when you look at my background, where I've come from a 2-roomed house in Mfakose, you know, without electricity, to staying in Borodale on top of a hill, that can only be God, you know. So it's just about the grace of God. And so when I look at myself, I can see that there's nothing that I've done to deserve that. It just shows His grace. And so I love to share this good news to as many people as possible.
Let's turn to my favorite section of this show, which is Trevor Book Club.
Yes.
People people love reading.
Right.
I know you love writing books. You
Yes.
also love reading.
Yes.
What books have you read, Doug, that you would want to recommend to people who love watching this show and love reading books?
Thanks, Trevor. This is the bit of the show that I also like, Trevor. Thank you very much for bringing that segment. The first book, obviously, Trevor, It's the Bible. For me, that's my primary book. But I've read books like Future Proof. That book is so good. It talks about how businesses can prepare themselves for disruptions, right? And then there's another one by Peter Thiel called From Zero to One. That's a wonderful book. Again, it's all about technology. And then the third one is on, it's called Sixth Sense. Oh, it's amazing the kind of stuff that
Sixth Sense.
Yeah, Sixth Sense. Actually, I must say, I saw a tweet from Joe Mtizwa talking about Sixth Sense. And the next time I was in Joburg, I looked for that book and I bought it. Powerful book. And then the last one, which is one that I'm reading right now, it's called Money Mastery. This is the one that talks about those 3 stages of money. You know, to say money that you work for, then money that works for you when you are there, and then money that works for you when you are not even there. So it's a powerful book. You know, leaders should be readers, because our late Professor Kamba used to say, a graduate who graduates today and forgets to update his or her education tomorrow will be uneducated the day after.
It's a continuous
Yes, that's right.
process.
That's right, yeah.
Doug, thank you so much for agreeing to come to In Conversation. You, like I said, have a very colorful story, colorful life. And you've just started, Doug, because you are halfway through your 8, 9, 90 years that God
Yes.
has
That's
ahead
right.
of
That's
you.
right. That's right. Amen.
So more is
Amen.
still to come in
Oh, yeah.
terms of inspiring and shaping the lives of young people. So thank you so much, Doug, for coming in, and wishing you all the best, and watching your career and the things that you are doing, and praying for the best for you. Allow me, Doug, to turn now and focus on
you,
our guests, our viewers rather, who are on the continent, who are in Zimbabwe, in the diaspora, who are following this show. We are so grateful for the support that you are affording this show. We are growing every week because of the support that you give us. To ensure that you don't miss out on this weekly show, we invite you please to click on the red button and subscribe, so that you get an alert every Monday when we have a show that comes out. We've also created podcasts, and if you scroll down this video, you'll find our podcast there. We love your comments. We love your criticism. We embrace all your comments. So keep on commenting and sharing. Until next time, cheers to you all.